Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. District Attorney Sandra Doorley, employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. My name is Chris Chichester. I have been in jail 6 times, and 6 times a prosecutor has not talked in court before my appearances in Penfield Town Court with John P. Lomenzo Jr. and Paul C. Metzer and New York State Supreme Court Judge Alex Renzi. I have prosecutors, District Attorney Doorley, District Attorney Perry Duckles. What are their names? I've been demanding their names for 18 months. And I'm not surprised that you refuse to comply with the law that I have in my hand right now. It demands you disclose names of prosecutors assigned to every single one of my court appearances. This is the Freedom of Information Law, or FOIL. 18 months at least, I've been using the FOIL to demand disclosure of our names of my prosecutors. Today is June 4th. This is in blue. This is June 2nd. You already got this. When I say you got it, I emailed it to you. I'll print this out, and then I'm going to send it to your office's registered mail return receipt. Blue, June 4th. Red, June 2nd. You will eventually, in the next 7 days, have both of these in your office, copies, where you will see the 3 foils on each one. I'm telling you, psychopaths and frauds and hacks at the district attorney's office disclose the names of my prosecutors' silence. How is any citizen anywhere in the state of New York in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? The New York State Legislature in Albany, with Senate Majority Leader Andrew Stewart Cousins, Speaker Carl Heastie, need to reform this disgusting, sick law that allows one judge anywhere in the state of New York to determine guilt or innocence. Paul C. Metzer, this $28,000 bald-headed widow at Penfield Town Court, cannot determine guilt or innocence because she's unequipped emotionally, mentally, intellectually to make that decision. Just like 70-year-old fossil John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Penfield Town Court, who released accused child rape stand to allow the third because he has a relationship with the family. Alex Renzi, at his age, which is about 70, is completely unequipped to determine guilt or innocence. When I appeared in front of him, I said, "You have no idea what's going on with my concocted charges, fictionalized." My exact language to him. I'm going to get a transcript of this. At least I hope one exists. There should be a transcript of everything I've said to this hacking fossil, Alex Renzi, in New York State Supreme Court. When I said to him, "You know nothing, you know absolutely nothing," he didn't say to me, "Oh, yes, I do, defendant Chichester, you're incorrect." And I have sent him documentation that he picked up, where he's up there on this pedestal and he's looking down on me like I'm his personal peon, and he just cast aside. Documentation I'm going to read, I have sent to him. And it does not matter. This is the Freedom of Information Law. That's been transmitted to you via Gmail. I only use Gmail once, so I can't be blocked. So this is the FOIL right here. Tell me the names of my prosecutors, Perry Duckles and Mark Monahan in the District Attorney's Office. You understand me? Christopher.chichester@mail.com. I'll say this for you again. Christopher.chichester@mail.com or 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, 14604. That's my UPS box right here. This is UPS. When I go to that box, 2 things will be possible. There's going to be nothing in there. Or it's going to be documentation where you hacks and sociopaths at that revolting shack at the district attorney's office compelling me to go into court where you know you don't have to talk, where you know you don't have to say one word for me to be delivered to jail. Where's the morality, the ethics, the decency, these hacks and sociopaths that are assigned to my court appearances where they're not talking and I'm being delivered to jail? How's that happen to anybody in the United States of America? And the reason why I demand these names is not just to know their names. The Appellate Division of State Supreme Court is where an attorney is disbarred. And I'm going to be relentless once I find these names about these hacks and sociopaths about disbarment. So who's doing this to me? Tell me their names. You would have the same level of anger as me if you were in jail 6 times, and 6 times the prosecutor didn't talk in court. So Mark Monahan and Perry Duckles at the district attorney's office. You see me pointing you? Tell me the names of my prosecutors. This is the Freedom of Information Law. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been an innocent man my whole life. Information about the grand jury can be by District Attorney Sandra Doorley to target Christopher Chichester. That is 1. The month, day, and year the grand jury is convened. 2. The assigned district attorney's office employee that addressed the grand jury. The witnesses that testified to the grand jury. 4. The role of the grand jurors. 5. A transcript of the jury proceeding. Michelle Crowley, the director of the grand jury. Why wasn't I called to the grand jury? Michael Luna and Don Benedetto, Todd Baxter, $73,000 and $85,000 freaks walked onto private property of my elderly neighbor, ran at me 2 years ago in the middle of the night. When I turned to run away from these two freaks, I never stopped running. I get to the back porch, I grab a hammer that I used to fix my bike. Michael Lynn grabs my arm, the hammer goes up and runs through the sliding glass door. I never stopped running. Since I never stopped running, it's impossible for me to swing a hammer at Michael Lynn. And Michael Lynn went back to you, Michelle Crowley, and said I swung a hammer. Then what you do, Michelle Crowley, is you convene the grand jury, these 18 to 24 idiots that I don't know is convened to indict me. Michelle Crowley, why didn't you call me to the grand jury? How is that answered when I pursue you disbarment? How do you possibly answer that this grand jury is convened? I don't know nothing about it. Did you talk to Houlihan and Benedetto, Michelle Crowley? Because you should have been able to conclude that these are psychopaths. Since you're a psychopath, Michelle Crowley, turning me into your personal hand sandwich, it does not matter to you that Michael Houlihan lied under oath. When Michael Houlihan states in that grand jury that I swung a hammer at him, he perjures himself. Is there a transcript of this grand jury? There should be one. There better be one. What's the answer to all these questions? It does not matter to you. At that revolting shack, district attorney's office, citizens have civil and constitutional rights. Freedom of information law. Walk into the Penfield Public Library. Again, the lunatic fringe. Todd Thurston, I would hope that what I say to you matters, because I don't know you, and I try not to impeach anybody's character that I know. But it's difficult because the hatred I have for this Monroe County Sheriff's Office. When I leave my residence 2 years ago, this is lunatic fringe, Todd Thurston. Richard J. Sieben is watching my front door. That means Richard J. Sieben and his fellow psychopath partner drove over to where I live at 26 Sanders Farm Drive, and they're outside in their Monroe County Sheriff's Office vehicles, waiting for me to exit. I exit. I live right near Penfield Road. I walk to Penfield Road. I walk the bad road the whole time. Psychopath, $75,000 cop. Richard J. Sieben is watching me. I get the bad road. I go into the Penfield Public Library. I sit down. 5 minutes later, Richard J. Sieben and his partner, psychopath, come walking in. This is a violent attack upon me, which I've talked about online repeatedly and in writing with Todd Baxter. Sieben runs at me, slams his arm to my head. So it's the force of Richard J. Sieben's arm slamming me in the head that's a violent attack. Then I fell backwards and my head hit the ceramic tile. Sieben picks me up. Now pay attention, Mark Monahan and Perry Douglas. There's no one there from the district attorney's office to make an argument I committed a crime, because $28,000 bald-headed widow Paul C. Metzer convened Penfield Town Court because she is alone as one fanatic, as one extremist, one psychopath in Penfield, New York, wants to send me to jail, and it's not going to be Monroe County Jail. It'll be Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. And this is where I'm dragged into Penfield Town Court by this violent psychopath Sieben, and I meet my public defender at that moment. She says to me, I'm your public defender, and my exact words to her, get the hell away from me. And my memory of this day is clear. However, there are things that I'm trying to focus and concentrate on because my head is pounding because of this violent attack on me by Richard J. Sieben. Violence defines you at the sheriff's office in the person of Richard J. Sieben, who I saw for the last time on Penfield Road when he arrested me for double jeopardy. He arrested me for the same thing. The same attempted felony assault for the fiction and the fantasy Michael Houlihan's head I was arrested for on Penfield Road, where I was in Monroe County Jail for 5 days for double jeopardy. I'm New York State's 5-day double jeopardy inmate. How do you think you can explain this to the Department of Justice, Todd Baxter? You don't think you have to explain anything. Just like your fellow party switcher, Sandra Doorley. Why are you two party switchers? Because you will say anything. All that matters is power. Freedom of information on the issuance of a new check to Christopher Chichester address below for an expired check in the amount of $61.39 from the County of Monroe Office Sheriff Inmate Fund account, because that's the dollar amount of the Baxter Chichester when he was violently attacked at Penfield Public Library by $75,094 Richard J. Sieben in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Violence defines the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of violent psychopaths. Richard J. Sieben is a violent psychopath who will not be fired. I have three names. Is this Julian Hahn before John Clemenza Jr.? Is this not Julian Hahn? Perry Douglas and Mark Van You know the answer. Every time I appear in court, I have a signed prosecuting. You're refusing. You've been refusing for 18 months. It really is sickening, disgusting. I'm on here. I'll never know if you're watching, but this is in your office. It's arrived in your office over and over and over for 18 months, where your corrupt, sick boss, Sandra Doorley, uses her health to score political points of sympathy, looks at it and blows it off. Freedom of information with documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester for John Clemenza Jr. Penfield Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? Is this Julian Hahn or is it not Julian Hahn? Total silence as I'm delivered to jail before John Clemenza Jr. This is a 5'2" three-piece report. Quote, the prosecutor's not backing down. That's what Regina Harper, the public defender's office, said to me. You public defender Julie Sianka know the stand. So does Regina Harper. You're sending my mail back to me. How do you explain to Sabrina Lamar at the American Legislature when I take pictures of every envelope you have sent back to me as public defender? How's that explained? Because you know the names I prosecute. You have the names I prosecute. And you, Julie Siakam, are refusing every single time to disclose information you have at the public defender's office. So who's this? This is the 5'2" 3-piece boy. The prosecutor's not backing down. Who is it? Documentation for the case of Christopher Johnson, Paul St. Ledger, Penn Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? Sandra Doorley. So my last appearance in New York State Supreme Court, who elevated me to New York State Supreme Court? The prosecutor assigned to that appearance. Who is it? He said to me, this $208,000 hack and fossil former employee of the district attorney's office who's a prosecutor's judge. He said to me, you're finished and done. That's not true. This is how easy it is to be arrested. One of you psychopaths at the district attorney's office just concocts a warrant, a lie of fiction. One of you judges in Monroe County just concocts a warrant, a lie of fiction. And then I'll be filed and tracked and stalked by the sheriff's office, presented before the corrupt judge, declared guilty. I have never had anything that constitutes due process. I'm being forced into these courtrooms where you know you don't have to talk to the district attorney's office. I'm being declared guilty by these corrupt judges, Paul C. Matthew, John P. Lemons, Jr. Penn Town Courthouse, Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, and then I languished in jail. Documentation for the case of Christopher Johnson, Files, Renzi, New York State Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? Sandra Doorley. Do you understand, you hacks, sociopaths, district attorney's office, that this is a taxpayer-financed public proceeding, and I have a prosecutor who's also a taxpayer-financed public employee, and that it is corruption refusing to tell me? You don't, because you corrupt yourself. Every single one of you, that district attorney's office is corrupt. So, again, the lunatic fringe, Todd Baxter. The first time I'm in Monroe County Jail, I went to a particular place on Elmwood Avenue that I only told my mother and father about. And then when there, Dr. Jeremy Smith says to me, you shouldn't be here, I'll write the order. This is what you're doing to my life, smash me into a million little pieces. Paul C. Metzler stated the name of this place when I was in Penfield Town Court. How does Paul C. Metzler know what I only told my mother and father? Because you, Todd Baxter, told her where I was. My former employers, the United States Senate, United States House of Representatives in 1996, passed the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, commonly called HIPAA, to properly protect healthcare records. My healthcare records are not properly protected. Sheriff Todd Baxter, when you gave them the $28,000 Paul C. Metzler in Penfield Town Court in violation of federal law, so Freedom of Information Law. Copy of the private healthcare records delivered to $28,000 Penfield Town Court Judge Paul C. Metzler by Sheriff Todd Baxter in violation of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. I do not yet know if this is a federal crime. It's certainly sleazy, immoral, and unethical. And since you, Todd Baxter, is sleazy, immoral, and unethical, this is what you did to me. Why did Paul C. Metzler ask me about how is that this particular place on Elmwood Avenue? You just drove me over there. There's no 730 mental health evaluation. 730 is the part in the New York State law that determines competence. You Benito Mussolini skinhead, you and your fellow psychopaths just showed up and drove me over there. Where did that 3 weeks of my life go? Where I'm in there with a man named John who thinks he's in a concentration camp, and I'm in there with a man named Victor who drools on himself. Freedom of Information Law, Todd Baxter, lunatic friends, sick lunatic friends, you Benito Mussolini skinhead. That's called surveillance device. And when I was calling the surveillance device, you hacks, the psychopaths, sociopaths, the sheriff's office were calling Lindsay Barron, the Monroe County Office of Mental Health, to come to my residence. Elliot Roth, open your mail. You could blow me off because you know why, Elliot? You're a private citizen. If my mail comes back to me, that's just the way it is. These are taxpayer-financed public employees that are also refusing to tell me. So, Elliot, you can tell me. Christopher.Chichester@mail.com, 620 Park Avenue, PNB, number 361, Rochester, 14604. Elliot, you're going to be arrested? You say to me, Elliot, you say to me, Elliot Roth, you're going to be arrested. You know I don't know what you're talking about. Where's the morality, decency, the character on you, Elliot? You know that this $83,000 freak Shannon Myers is going to concoct a crime for me. You know your employee, Steve Desmond of Brock Poultry and Lawn Care, is being used by the sheriff's office to get me to come out of the house. They're using civilians. Shannon Meyer, the sheriff's office, told Steve Devson of Brock Poultry and Lawn Care, ride your tractor by this residence of Chris Chichester. If he comes out of the house, I'm going to be there with my fellow psychopaths to arrest him. It's not a crime to tell a man on his track nobody owns land walk back by residence. And that's how I'm charged with criminal contempt second, Todd Baxter. And then when I got to Monroe County Jail, your employee came up to me with this gruesome smile and said, I want to show you something. There's the video image of me outside because it is surveillance device, Todd Baxter. Lunatic friends, you freak, Todd Baxter. So lunatic friends, you freak, Todd Baxter. Freedom of Information Law. The cost of the surveillance device purchase of taxpayer dollars, Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, fixed to a building at 2025 Benford Road to monitor Christopher Chichester, 26 Sanders Farm Drive, walks through the parking lot next to the building, and that's the lunatic French. Lunatic French cop Shannon Meyer, as we read that. So, Is there sexual harassment at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office? I've talked about this repeatedly. This is the most important law of the 20th century. Are you in compliance with the Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley? Freedom of information law. Cost taxes, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter suspended taxpayer dollars sell employment-related discrimination lawsuits, federal comply with Title VII, Civil Rights Act 1964. Is there sexual harassment at the sheriff's office? You would ask that question. You know what your answer is going to be, Todd Baxter? A usual bumbling and stumbling where you refuse to answer the question. Is there sexual harassment at the attorney's office, Perry Douglas? Mark Vine. Is anybody, any female employee, it can be male too, but it's commonly female, ever come to you, Perry Douglas, to describe behavior that you can identify as sexual harassment? I'm trying to find that out. Your boss is at such a level of insane, ridiculous corruption. The law's a joke to her. Is there sexual harassment at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office? Sandra Doorley, Freedom of Information Law. Cost taxes, Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Doorley, expended taxpayer, also employment-related discrimination lawsuits, failed to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Overtime, time and a half. When I was a public employee in Albany for majority leading governor and in Washington, D.C. for Senator Olympia Snow, Maine, Congressman Mark Smith, Texas, there's no overtime. Do you know why employees at the sheriff's office and the attorney's office? Because elected officials at that status do not want the political liability of employees being in the news media, the Albany Times Union in Albany, Washington Post in D.C., where their salaries are being doubled and reported as doubled. That's why. I don't know if there's overtime time at the sheriff's office. I'm reasonably confident that there is when you work that 41st hour. Todd Baxter, how do you pay your employees if they work the 41st hour? Is the salary always the same on the payroll that I have acquired? I'm not going to read any payroll to that. Todd Baxter, you understand, you should understand that this is corruption. What I'm telling you to disclose to me, overtime for your employees, can a $75,000 employee be paid $100,000? Can a $100,000 employee be paid more money than you with $132,000, Todd Baxter? How many employees in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office exist with overtime and time and a half and are paid more money than you, Sheriff Todd Baxter, $132,000? Because you already have employees that are paid more money than you, Todd Baxter, because Michael Fowler is paid $163,000 and Corey Brown is paid $155,000. When I contact Control Thomas P. DiNapoli and ask of him to audit you, this is going to be one of the first things I cite to him in bullet points about Corey Brown and Michael Fowler, those ridiculous, insane salaries, pay more money than you sent to Saratoga, New York. Do you understand why you corrupt Todd Baxter? It has 100 reasons. It has 300 examples, over and over and over. Corey Brown and Michael Fowler are in Saratoga when they're not in Monroe County, where violence is crashing down on the city of freaks that's Rochester, New York. And I have been to that track more than 100 times. And I love that city and that lake. But I lived in Albany County, Sheriff Todd Baxter. Corey Brown and Michael Fowler don't live in Albany County. They don't live in Saratoga County or Schenectady County. They're Monroe County Sheriff Office employees having a good time in Saratoga. So, freedom of information on the total cost of overtime time and a half hour paid beyond base house calculated at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Sandra Doorley. It's attached in PDF on this June 4th. Tell me what the answer is and you'll refuse. Photography session. I don't have the photographs because I'm looking at my photographs of you underwater in the pool, Todd Baxter. But I'm going to show a few other photographs. Where was this picture taken? I don't care if it's a private event. I tell you to disclose to me the cost of your fanatics underwater in the pool, and you tell me it's a private event. Is this tax dollars or it's not tax dollars? The cost for photography session, the photo of 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater in the pool. Julie Sianka, how much are you paid? Mark from Savino Harper, are you paid? How much was your employee that's attacking court employees at the courthouse paid? She's still employed. I read that story. You fire her? That employee that was in some type of physical altercation, a fight, whatever it was that assistant public defender dismissed and fired or not? I'll write this down and open your mail. It is insane that the public defender of Monroe County, you, Julie Sianka, is sending my mail back to me. I'm not asking you for the internal operations of something totally disconnected to you. I'm telling you, disclose the names of prosecuting, you're refusing. That's why you're corrupt. Name, sounds, of every public employee at the Monroe County Public Defender's Office, Julie Sianka. Pamphlet down court. Is it just you bald-headed $28,000 widow Paul C. Metzer and James Simone Jr., the old lady? Is that pamphlet down court? Have you noticed Paul C. Metzer? There's no jury 12 in there. There's no table for a prosecutor to sit at. There's no table for a defense attorney, public defender to set up. This is not a witness box for testimony. All it is you and that bald head sitting in there determining guilt or innocence, and it's guilt every time, right? My friend Adam, who lived next to me in Penfield, hates John P. Lomenzo Jr. with such intensity that he uses the most obscene word in the English language that begins with a C and has 4 letters, and he's absolutely correct about that word. Name salaries of every public employee at Penfield Port. When I contact Control Thomas P. DiNapoli and demand that you be audited at Penfield Court as a local government, I'll cite this, saying they're refusing to comply. The law is a joke to you, Paul C. Metzer and James Finley Jr. You freed this violent thug, Jermaine Bam, who snaps my head back at the gym. I'm charged with ransom second, sitting in the backseat of $79,000 Andrew Rial's Monroe County Sheriff Office vehicle. Jermaine Bam, this violent thug, has to appear before you, James Finley Jr., and there's a deal between Jessica Wagner, the district attorney's office, Jermaine Bam, and attorney Jermaine Bam, to let this violent thug walk right out the door. I'm sitting there with my subpoena. The old lady comes up to me, says my name. I state my name. She says, you can't be here. I'm removed from the courtroom, Penfield Court, even though I have a subpoena. You're in the embrace of violence, James Finley Jr. with Jermaine Lamar Bamman. So, names, freedom of information law, names, salaries of a public employee in New York State Supreme Court on supervising Judge Alex Renzi at 99 Exchange Boulevard, Rochester, New York. There are 18 over there at the Hackocracy at 99 Exchange. He's in there with 25% of the vote. State legislature needs to reform these laws that allow an extremist like this Alex Renzi to be in there with 25% or 24% of the vote. It's one or the other. Doesn't that bother you, employees as officers of the court, that he's sitting there, this $208,000 fossil, with 25% of the vote? It should, and it doesn't. What's Ryan Fisher doing in Atlanta, Georgia, Todd Baxter? Have you been to parts of the Deep South? I guess you have, given your age and experience. Because I used to see the stars and bars when I was in the 101st Airborne Division in Clarksville, Tennessee, and Hopkinsville, Kentucky. When I was there from 1986 to 1988, I was there from January 2nd, 1986 to May 27th, 1988. 2 years and 5 months, I'm in 101st. And I would occasionally see that. I remember talking to my roommate, his name is Anthony O'Neill, and Anthony was from Los Angeles, California. And we're talking about this the way 20-year-old young men and 21-year-old young men talk about it. I think I even said to him, we were on bunk beds and we talked about this thing every once in a while. But you see that thing again? I think I was calling it that thing, meaning the stars and bars. Because I didn't get it, and he didn't get it. What's your employee doing in Atlanta, Georgia, where his stars and bars, that's why I'm citing that, was not changed until 2003? He's in Atlanta, Georgia, the Deep South. Your employee, Ryan Fisher, is he still employed? I don't remember if I saw his name. What's he doing? How long was he there? Was this for one of these conferences? Is this where Ryan Fisher's at a conference? He's sitting around talking about how tough it is to be a cop and whining and complaining about being a cop, talking about how we went to doors together in Rochester, New York. Stop that fucking whining, you psychopaths at the sheriff's office about being a cop. I hate that when I see it on TV. Cops whining about being cops when you decide to do this job. Is he at a conference? Is Ryan Fisher, Monroe County Sheriff Office employee, at a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, or not? And if he's not at a conference, what's he there for, you Benito Mussolini skinhead, Todd Baxter? Freedom of information on cost for hotel and plane ticket for Monroe County Sheriff Office employee Ryan Fisher, attend the Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia on February 3rd, 2019. I'm not going to hold up the photographs because it'll take too much time. I already have 24 minutes. He's there with his dog, right in front of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Joe, your contracts for weapons. Again, when I contact Thomas P. DiNapoli, the controller of the state of New York, in Albany, and demand that you be audited, ask of him that you be audited. I can't demand anything of the controller. But I'm demanding you answer me now, Todd Baxter. What's your contract for weapons? You decide your weapons, not just the handguns, long guns, and rifles, is that things you have in arsenal. What's the contract for your weapons? When I contact Thomas P. DiNapoli and he sees that I've been demanding this over and over of you, I believe that he will easily reach the conclusion you should be audited, some type of oversight of you, Sheriff Todd Baxter, and how you're expending taxpayer dollars. Freedom of information on contracts signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter to purchase firearms from Monroe County Sheriff Office employees to include 1, the name of the firearms contractor, 2, the number of firearms purchased, 3, the total amount of taxpayer dollars to purchase firearms. You refuse to answer every single time. So why is this civilian, Elliot Roth, tell me I'm going to be arrested, Todd Baxter? His exact words to me are, you're going to be arrested. This Elliot Roth knows I have no idea what he's talking about. Now, so Todd Baxter, this is a photograph of the, what's it called? You Benito Mussolini skinheads right there. This is private technology, or you buy and fix it for me. I believe I know the answer. You tell me the answer. He knows that this is on this building. Todd Baxter, Elliot Roth says to me, going to be arrested. He knows I don't know what he's talking about. That's because your cop breed Shannon Meyer is either over here or talking to him on the phone or somebody else. I'll tell you how to concoct the crime for me, Todd. It's not I walk outside and tell Steve Desmond, Broccolo, Tree, and Lonka, nobody knows the land next to my Reds, walk by my Reds. You sneak into my Reds where I used to live, and you put a dead prostitute in my bed. And that's how you concoct a crime for me. So, Elliot Roth and Todd Baxter.
Elliot Roth, my name is Chris Chichester. You know exactly my name. Isn't that right, Elliot? Why do you know my name, Elliot? I'm walking through the parking lot next to where I used to live at 26 Sanders Farm Drive for the 4th time. And you're standing outside, Elliot, and you say to me, quote, "You're going to be arrested," end quote. Elliot, you said to me you're going to be arrested because you know the Monroe County Sheriff Office fanatics, degenerates, sociopaths came to your building at 2025 Penfield Road, put a camera on it, all called surveillance device. That's what I'm going to tell the employees of the United States Department of Justice, Elliot. Elliot, what is wrong with you? And I'm not saying that to be sarcastic or rhetorical. I really want to know what's wrong with you and what's your major malfunction. Because you're staring at me with that idiot misanthropic smile. When you say to me you're going to be arrested, you must know I don't know what you're talking about. Because it's not a crime to walk through that parking lot. Because my excellent friend Adam, who lived next to me, walks through it. The elderly woman across the street walks through it. I'm the only one of the 36,000 residents of Penfield, New York, to be arrested for walking through that parking lot. I'm the only citizen of 700,000 in Monroe County to be arrested for walking through that parking lot. I'm the only one of 17 million New Yorkers to be arrested for walking through that parking lot, Elliot. This is not an exaggeration. This is because of $67,000 Shannon Meyer at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Elliot, that camera, also called a surveillance device, is that your technology that was already on the building for the security of your building? Or did Sheriff Todd Baxter's fanatics, degenerates, and sociopaths come and put that camera, also called a surveillance device, on it after I had a confrontation with his mother's boy, 50-year-old Nayron Shaw, with his 70-year-old mother? What's the answer to this question, Elliot? I'm going to send you registered mail return receipt. That's another reason why I contacted you on this app called TikTok, to tell you to sign the documentation from me. And I believe that you will refuse to sign, even though I'm telling you I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to describe in detail what your sick co-worker Nancy Dooley did, even though I've already described it to you and sent it to you. It's called falsely reporting an incident. The reason why I didn't write a criminal complaint about Nancy Dooley calling the sheriff's office to come to my residence after I told her to fuck off is there's something really wrong with her. So, Elliot, it's only got 25 seconds to go. Contact me, respond to me. My address is on this email. It's the humiliation of my life because I was evicted from my residence, 26 Sanders Farm Drive, and I was evicted from 26 Sanders Farm Drive because you said to me, Elliot Roth, 2025 Penfield Road, when you know I don't know what you're talking about, you're going to be arrested.
Doesn't matter what I just said. You're going to be arrested because this is on his building. That's why. That's why he says this to me. Respond to me. You can respond to me, and you'll refuse to respond to me because you're psychopaths and sociopaths and hacks. That's why. I'm walking through the park lot for 4,000 times. Nayron Shaw starts to scream at me. I have this confrontation with him, and this is when he goes to the sheriff's office. Paul C. Metzer is writing orders of protection to humiliate me because he's to Nayron Shaw and Layla Kumar Shah. I'm at the YMCA. I'm on a rowing machine. This Layla Kumar Shah, because his order of protection, Paul C. Metzer wrote for me to avoid her when I've never met her. Told the YMCA employee, I don't belong to the YMCA. So here I am at the YMCA with Layla Kumar Shah, who used to live next to me in Penfield, is telling a YMCA employee I don't belong there. And then I had to talk to a YMCA employee for more than a half an hour about everything that's happening because I thought I was getting kicked out of the YMCA. Michael Avery, who was the YMCA director, didn't kick me out. After I told him about what you psychopaths are doing to me in Penfield. Miss Nancy Dooley, I'm walking my dog. She would stare at my dog. Instead of pulling out of the parking lot next to where I used to live, she would stop and stare at me. This Nancy Dooley's staring at me as I'm standing there with my dog waiting for him to defecate and urinate. Over and over she would do this. So I say to her, what the fuck are you looking at? Fuck you. And then Nancy Dooley calls the sheriff's office. I open the door. Two Monroe County Sheriff's Office employees walk in. I turn around and there he is 6 inches from my face like this. His nose is this close to my face. He says to me, what did you say to the woman in the car? I reply, what the fuck you looking at? Fuck you. And the Monroe County Sheriff Office employee says to me, don't swear at me. He demands my speech. I disclose my speech, which is profane speech. And then he's telling me how to talk in my own house, my own rented residence. This is why people hate the police, you Benito Mussolini skinhead Todd Baxter. You will never know why citizens hate the police. Hatred for the United States, for the police in the United States of America is everywhere. If you were asked a simple question, Todd Baxter, why do citizens hate the police? You would not be able to answer that question because you've been a pathetic cop nearly your whole life. You're coming to my residence to tell me how to talk. And who uses profanity in the United States of America in professions more than the cops? It's the cops in the military. Todd Baxter, I bet you've been swearing nearly your whole career. But if you're not that type of person, because I have known individuals that are Christians that I work with that do not swear, and that's the reason why they don't swear. But you're certainly a veteran, and you've been around soldiers that swear. I have been around swearing my whole life, either in the military, or where I worked in the New York State Legislature, or where I worked in Washington, D.C. as a congressional staffer. And you're coming to my residence to tell me how to talk because I told a woman to fuck off. That's really insane. So, what's justice about in the United States of America? Employees of the Sheriff's Office and District Attorney's Office about money. If I had money, I never would have spent one day in jail. How do you allow this policy match from James Finley Jr. to determine guilt or innocence? You need to redirect defendants away from the Penn court because then you won't have innocent citizens in jail. I haven't opened this yet because I will get nauseous. I will get physically sick if I see my name on here and if I see my neighbor's name on here, which is a terrific guy. Same thing happened to my friend and neighbor in front of John P. Jr. declared guilty when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court. Redirect defendants away from this Penn court. This is what they sent to me about the defendants. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to be contacting defendants on the names that are on here, even if I don't know them. If I could contact someone, either mail, regular mail or Gmail that's on here, I'm going to ask them what their experience is in Penn court. So, this is your employees underwater in a pool, Todd Baxter. I mean, it's just ridiculous, insane. I repeat certain things that need to be repeated. So, here is my letter here to Sheriff Thomas Doherty and you, Todd Baxter, about what I'm doing in Livingston County Jail. Is there an agreement with Sheriff Thomas Doherty of Livingston County that citizens of Monroe County will be in his jail? Is there a signed agreement from the Sheriff's Office or District Attorney's Office, I should say? Let me repeat this and say it in an accurate way. Is there an agreement between Sheriff Thomas Doherty in Livingston County that citizens in Monroe County will be in Livingston County Jail because of an agreement with Sheriff Todd Baxter or District Attorney Sandra Doorley and these judges? What am I doing in Livingston County Jail in Geneseo? This is the destruction of my life with this bald-headed widow decided I'm going to be in Livingston County Jail in Geneseo, where I witnessed the violence hack and I had to give a statement to a state investigator, which I've talked about that repeatedly too. So, this is the registered mail return receipt. I've already sent this to this public employee. This is Merrick Gall, the Attorney General. I'm going to be sending him information. This is Governor Kathy Hochul. You need the examination, investigation of the Governor of New York, the Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney's Office, again, Thomas Doherty. I'm going to say to this sheriff here in Livingston County, what am I doing in your jail? And he's going to refuse to answer because he's corrupt. I have no doubt about it that he's corrupt. Because what am I doing in his jail? And I was saying this, I had to go to this kiosk day after day and type my name in. And I'm typing in with my two fingers in this kiosk how long I'm going to be here. And that's when Virginia Hall, the public defender's office, said to me, the judge is holding you. I'm violently attacked by Richard J. Seaman, forced into Town Court where prosecutors are making an argument that I've committed a crime. I'm driven to Livingston County Jail in Geneseo, and this $28,000 bald-headed widow, Paul C. Metz, was holding me in that jail. How's that constitutional? Is that constitutional, Perry Douglas and Mark Monahan? Because I don't believe it is. But you should be able to tell me the answer. And Paul C. Metz, there's your name right here. Answer me. This is an Office of Court Administration. I'll be contacting them, Monroe County Legislature, subpoena tomorrow about you, Paul C. Metzer. Deputy Todd Thurston, I'll contact you. You'll get a packet of what I'm saying here. Fire Richard J. Seaman. You know why, Todd? It's not because he's attacked me. That's irrelevant. He will attack other innocent citizens because Richard J. Seaman is a psychopath cop. That's why. Psychopath cops don't change. Just like Michael Luhan's a perjurer. Michael Luhan will lie under oath again. Richard J. Seaman will violently attack other citizens again. It's the way psychopath cops are. So, Periopolis is the last one here. I know I have others. I'm not going to hold them up. Tell me the names of my prosecutors. He's going to arrive at the district attorney's office. The foil is going to be included. This foil that I just read is going to be included. June 4th. June 2nd, I'm going to have copies of this for you, Perry Douglas, right here. The 3 names of my prosecutors here on June 4th. The 3 names of my prosecutors here on June 2nd. And you, Perry Douglas, will look at all 6 foils where I'm demanding you disclose the name of my prosecutors and refuse, and that's why you're corrupt. You paid $113,000 to refuse to tell me the names of my prosecutors in a public proceeding, Perry Douglas. And when I say you paid $113,000, because I think I put your salary on YouTube, where I'm telling you to disclose to me the names of my prosecutors, and you refuse. I'm looking for when I spoke to you, Perry Douglas, on YouTube. And I told you, I think it was on February 25th, to disclose the names of my prosecutors. And you know what? It does not matter to you. This is identification. On February 24th, I'm telling you to disclose the names of my prosecutors. On this February 24th, it's called identification, and you refuse to disclose those names to me because you're corrupt. How is any citizen in the state of New York in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? Answer me that question. Because if your friends and family members are in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court, I guarantee you're going to have the same level of disgust and anger I have. One judge determines guilt or innocence in the state of New York. I've talked about that. I did not know that was the law, and that needs to be changed to prevent innocent citizens from being in jail when prosecutors don't talk in court. Here we are right here, Perry Douglas. 113,918 and 94 cents. When I contact Thomas B. DiNapoli about these bizarre salaries, 94 cents. So on this February 25th, Perry Douglas, Deputy District Attorney, February, March, April, May, over 3 months ago. February 25th, Perry Douglas, Monroe County District Attorney's Office, 47 South Fitchie Street, Rochester, New York, 14614. Mail the names of your prosecutor, size of my court appearances, the address below 620 Park Avenue, Rochester, New York. Comply with detached freedom of information on PDF. February 25th. This is corruption. Can you recognize yourself, Perry Douglas? I only used this once, Christopher.Chichester82 at Proton Mail's paid email account. So I don't know if I'm going to use my paid email account, Proton Mail, or Gmail. I haven't decided. But all you other hacks, sociopaths, can see right here that I'm demanding of this hacking sociopath, Perry Douglas, and his $113,000 salary for him to disclose the names of my prosecutors, and you're all refusing. If you had morality and decency, you would see this and go to your boss, Sandra, Doorley, and say, this is a citizen, he's demanding disclosure of his prosecutors, and you would tell me. This is like the innocent citizens in the Duke Lacrosse case, like Reed Seligman, not knowing it's Mike Nifon, putting screws to him and destroying his life. I have no idea who's putting screws to me and destroying my life at that revolting shack. You're refusing every single time to disclose the names of my prosecutors because you employees at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Sandra Doorley, are crazed. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I've been an innocent man my whole life.